So I just wanted to take a moment to define the term subjectivity because through the holistic application review process, more than one person might look at your application. And so more than one person might evaluate your essay. And given that we all come from our own set of experiences, that does influence how we define the quality of a college essay. Given that everyone is coming from different walks of life and different sets of experiences, we still have to build uniformity for how we're measuring this information that we're getting from an essay. And so we build uniformity by being trained and aware of unconscious biases that might come out to play, or also kind of ways in which we can structure the measurement of a quality essay. And so we might measure essays in different ways, but one example is a rubric. So if we have a rubric, we kind of have this, this leveled numeric system in which we can kind of decide what gets a number of a 5, if 5 is the top for a quality essay. Might that include grammar, style of writing, clarity, flow, things like that. And so if you look down further in my in this slide, you can see those points of evaluation that I just mentioned. But another way that we might measure success in an essay comes from comparing with standardized tests. So we might look if you have taken AP Comp and see what that score was, and how, if we find it consistent with what we might score your essay according to our own rubric. We might also look at SAT and ACT writing if that's submitted, because we are test optional. But if it is submitted, then we would consider it as part of the whole application process. And so what does that look like in terms of comparing our writing sample to what was written on the spot in one of these standardized tests? So that is definitely taken into consideration if it is submitted to us. So I just want to drop down and kind of give more detail about points of evaluation. And I wrote out some questions to think about, and this will kind of be used also a reference later in the guide that I also provided. So the first point is grammar. Does the writing follow prescriptive or at least widely accepted grammar rules? So do you capitalize the first letter of every word of every sentence? Do you use punctuation correctly? Like these basic grammar rules that you have been learned in school. Is the grammar that you're using in your essay support those prescriptive grammar rules, or at least the ones that are widely accepted for native English speakers? Then there's also another point of evaluation that one might look at called style of writing. So is your essay mechanical, which means that it might have a beginning, middle, and end, but the transitions might not be necessarily very strong. And so this is kind of where the subjective piece comes into play a little bit. But we're ultimately, for style of writing, we're looking for a writing level that's mature enough where the student is able to develop his or her unique voice. And it doesn't sound like another student's essay. We can tell the difference. So there's a level of maturity there. Next, from clarity, this question is kind of synonymous with what the meaning of clarity is. Does the essay make sense? Do we have to look for meaning, or is there a gap in information that ultimately leads to the reader feeling confused or left like something's unresolved from what we've read? That's something that we also look for in essays. And also, again, flow, like I mentioned before. Does your writing have a beginning, middle, of end? I know that we kind of learn in middle school this kind of this triangle of events where there's like the beginning and then the rising action, and the highest point of the triangle is the climax, and then which is the turning point, and then it ultimately comes down to some sort of resolution. So if you write a story and you use a personal essay as a narrative, then we do encourage that type of flow. And regardless of whatever you decide to write about, something that is characteristic of a good essay is that it enhances your personal brand. So as you're working on your application, whether that's the Common App or the essay or co-curricular involvement or transcripts or even like letters of recommendation, what people are talking about you and how you're presenting yourself, there might be certain elements that you want to come across as more salient than others. And so with that, we want your essay to kind of support your own personal brand and the person you want to be presented as. So make sure that both the subject that you're writing about and the way you write about it enhances and complements your personal brand. So I'm going to read this, and this is an example of a college essay that we rated as a 5, and a 5 is the highest level of a college essay